Again, comes from Prophecy News Watch, and this is concerning the Great North American Eclipse. And I think a lot of people will remember in 2017 there was an eclipse that went, I believe it's from Oregon to South Carolina, all the way across the United States. Well, here in just a few months, on April the 8th, there's another eclipse that's coming up. It'll come from Texas up through Maine, go all the way across the United States. It'll be visible, it will be experienced by 30 million Americans. Literally, it'll just go over where you're living and you'll experience the darkness. So the question is, has it happened before? And the answer is yes. The path of a solar eclipse that occurred on June 16th, 1806, combined with the path of a solar eclipse that occurred on September 17th, 1811, also formed a giant X over the New Madrid Fault region, now the New Madrid Fault. So in the central United States, Mississippi Valley, this is like Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, that area there. This is the New Madrid Fault. It's a massive fault system. Mm-hmm. So the question is, has this ever happened before? Yes, it happened before in the early 19th century. Okay, 3 months after the solar eclipse that happened on September 17th, 1811, a series of absolutely enormous earthquakes began to happen on the New Madrid Fault. The New Madrid earthquakes were the biggest earthquakes in American history. They occurred in the central Mississippi Valley, but were felt as far away as New York City, Boston, Montreal, and Washington, D.C. President James Madison and his wife Dolly felt them in the White House. Church bells rang in Boston. From December 16th, 1811 through March of 1812, there were over 2,000 earthquakes in the central Midwest, and between 6,000 to 10,000 earthquakes in the Booth Heel of Missouri, where the New Madrid is located near the junction of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. In the known history of the world, no other earthquakes have lasted so long or produced so much evidence of damage as the New Madrid earthquakes. 3 of the earthquakes are on the list of America's top earthquakes. The first one on December 16th, 1811, a magnitude of 8.1 on the Richter scale. The second on January 23rd, 1812, at 7.8, and the third on February 7th, 1812, as much as 8.8 magnitude. Now, those are massive earthquakes.
Oh, yeah.
So, 3 months before those earthquakes, there was an X over the same basic region as is about to happen. I'm not predicting anything, and I pray to God that nothing like that happens.
Oh, yeah.
But the Jews, Jesus said there'll be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Genesis 1 says God created the sun, moon, and stars for signs and for seasons. And so Jesus, when he was born, the Magi found him because of the star that was in the sky. So God uses the sky to communicate. Well, it is believed by the Jews that a lunar eclipse is an omen to the Jewish people, but a solar eclipse is an omen to the world. So here we have 2 solar eclipses creating an X, marking an X over America. And the question is, what could it mean? Well, I want to get your comments on it, but I want to say Bill Koenig is a frequent guest here on the show, and he wrote that book, Eye to Eye, which talks about the consequences of dividing the nation of Israel. Well, we have divided Israel. The United States, the Gaza issue that we're in right now, we caused it. America, under the George W. Bush administration, we forced Israel out of the Gaza Strip. And then the Palestinians moved in, Hamas took over, and the rest is history. So we are now, the Biden administration, I so much appreciate the military support they've given Israel, but the Biden administration is pressuring Israel to give up, to enter into a 2-state solution, to give back Gaza and to give up East Jerusalem and the West Bank. And so my question is, so when Hurricane Katrina happened, it was 5 days after we forced Israel out of the Gaza Strip. And Bill Koenig, in his book, I think it's 126 documented examples of when the United States was trying to force Israel to give up land and natural disasters, historic natural disasters that happened. So this X, the Great American Earthquakes, April 8th, that's coming up here in a few months, we're going to have another a really unprecedented solar eclipse in my lifetime, that we're going to see this X that's formed over the New Madrid area of the United States. And so again, I pray nothing happens. But I just want to say this to say, it is happening and it's a big deal. The Great American eclipses it is a big deal, and I believe that God is saying something. If it's not, earthquakes, maybe it's repentance or something. But what do you think about it?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned all those earthquakes that were measured then. Think about that, too. That was back in the early 1800s when they couldn't measure them like they can now. They're probably a lot more.
Yeah.
We have so much more sophisticated equipment now. Secretary Blinken, Anthony Blinken, I just heard yesterday on the news, he's stopped in Turkey first. He's making kind of a Mideast tour. It was all about the two-state solution.
Yeah.
It's all about these two states, which again, there was a two-state solution in 1947 that was not accepted by the Arabs. It was accepted by the Jewish people. There'd been at the Oslo Accords, there was other offers of that. So that's what they want. That's what the government wants. That's what these other nations all want. That's what's being put forward. And again, like you said, we don't know when these things are going to happen, what's going to happen, but God consistently does speak to the world through the heavens, and it does create a sense of dread as well with people. These kind of events, they're ominous.
Yeah.
And again, like you, I hope nothing like that happens. But we look at our country today and all the other things that are happening, not only how we treat Israel, but just all the other things that are happening in our country. Yeah. I hope it will bring about a repentance, in our nation. All these events taking place, we need it desperately.
Well, back in the 1800s, when those earthquakes happened, that was a very sparsely populated area. Mm-hmm. The articles that I read don't even talk about how many people died because they don't know. Mm-hmm. Today, right. it would be devastation. If you had, first of all, it would snap every bridge up and down the Mississippi. And by the way, the earthquake was so severe in 1811 that the Mississippi flowed backwards for several hours. So it literally changed the course of the Mississippi River. So today, that would snap every bridge, stop truck traffic, car traffic, east to west. So anyway, I don't know what it means, but it's happening, and I just wanted to talk about it. And also, I thought it was fascinating that it's happened before, and when it did happen before, there were very severe, ramifications for it.